Hailing from Minneapolis, Minnesota, Chet Holmgren is a 7-foot big, weighing 195 pounds, with a 7'6" wingspan, who played his college ball at Gonzaga. To start things off, let's take a look at his defense, specifically his rim protection. His height, length, intelligence, and even his lift help him be a prolific shot swatter. Being able to stretch out and get a touch on these sorts of shots is just unfair. His long arms just smother almost anything from under the basket. Here he's a little further away from the basket, but identifies the danger early and gets there to block this attempt. Plays like this give me confidence that he could comfortably be an NBA team's defensive anchor in the future. In this one, the Zags switch the pick and roll, and Hawkins Jr. decides to attack Chet on a drive. Big mistake. Chet keeps up with him using those long strides and even holds firm when Triple J sticks his shoulder in his chest and there are those tree branches. This one's truly incredible. He comes up to the level of the screen, but they don't switch here, and Chet has to trek all the way around to get to Banchero, who's a shooter. Not only does he get there in time, he quickly flips his hips to contain the drive and get this block off. Driving on him while he's still in the paint is a big no-no for the opposition. His ability to contain drivers in these situations is astonishing at times. He'll even hold up fine when drivers get airborne and physical. Here, UCLA runs a high pick and roll, and Chet blitzes the ball handler and does amazingly well to get back home to get this contest up, and that's an empty possession for the Bruins. And it's not just physical talent, he's technically solid too. Yeah, he gives up the bucket, but going up with two hands to protect both sides of the rim was the right move. Here, Kenneth Nwaba tries to back Chet down, and that's just not a good idea. I understand what guys are thinking when they take him into the post, but it just always ends up badly. Those same long arms that help him be effective at the rim are put to good use in passing lanes as well. You'll also get a couple of these strips. He's definitely more comfortable in and around the paint than he is on the perimeter, but his length does bail him out sometimes. He can also be a bit overzealous with his closeouts, as it's not easy to stop that big body once the accelerator is all the way down. Offensively, let's start with the shooting, because that's what everyone's going to focus on. He struggled at first and was pretty tentative with his attempts. After that though, he's been lights out. His percentages and his attempts have both gone up as the year progressed. He hits a lot of them from above the break and off the catch. So I think he could be a more than viable pick and pop guy. Don't worry, he'll hit him from the corner too when he gets the chance. He's definitely more comfortable with the catch than off the dribble though. Every now and then you'll see a play like this and have to pick your jaw from the floor. Firstly, he gets the block and then brings the ball up himself before accelerating past Miles Johnson, before coming back and hitting him with a nasty behind the back, leaving him in the dust, and then we have liftoff. In general, he's very willing to take slower guys on with the dribble. His long strides help him just get to the cup quicker than most guys. In this one, he starts in the post but then moves to the perimeter for Bolton to get space to cut into. He ends up with the ball in his hands out there, and he attacks his man and then hits him with the spin move before the dunk. Here he sees that Mark Williams is on him and takes him on, but opts to spin around and hit this Dirk Nowitzki-esque fadeaway. I mean, that's almost identical to the shot that won the Mavs a championship. His shooting ability means teams close out hard against him, and he takes advantage of this by attacking these closeouts and making use of the resultant numerical mismatch. He'll handle contact pretty well too, and does incredibly well to stay in control here. His long arms help him be a good finisher on the basket. Sometimes he'll just finish right over guys. He's got some decent post moves as well, although he's not the most physically imposing and his feet aren't the cleanest. He loves quickly flipping or spinning around his man to get to the basket. I don't completely buy his mid-range game at the moment, but the seeds are there, so it's just something we're going to have to monitor going forward. Off the ball, he's a pretty good cutter. He'll often just float into open spaces in the paint from the perimeter and goes pretty much undetected. Here he's sitting on the weak side wing and he picks up this little pocket of space and attacks it, and the result is an easy bucket. He's a pretty capable passer too. I'd say he's at his best playmaking wise when he's at the top of the arc, fighting cutters like this. He's also got some pretty good hops. Finally, he's a pretty solid rebounder, which is actually a surprise considering his frame. He averaged 28.4 points, which is good considering he wasn't a primary scorer at Gonzaga. His 69% true shooting percentage was great too. He shot 39% on 6.6 3-point attempts, which is very reassuring to see. His 74% efficiency from 2 is also great, and his free throw rate is decent. He's also a really good rebounder, with nearly 20 rebounds per 100 possessions. His assists and assist rate is pretty much the best in the class for bigs, and his potential there is really intriguing. His turnovers are a little high, but that comes with those passing numbers. His block numbers were pretty solid, but not as overwhelming as I expected though. Chet's frame is the biggest concern with him as a prospect. There, it's done. I don't have to talk about it again for the rest of the video. Anyway, I actually think Chet has a really high floor. He's probably going to be a really good defensive player who can protect the rim at a high level and stretch the floor on the offensive end from the 5 position. As a base level, that's a really valuable player. Add in the passing potential and there's something seriously cooking then. I do worry about a few little things like teams attacking him in playoff scenarios and the level of offensive talent you'd need around him to win a championship, but those are only issues because he's good enough to have you thinking about them. A realistic floor for him would be a really good rim protector and overall solid regular season defender who can stretch the floor offensively but won't really offer much more than that. A realistic ceiling would be a dominant defensive player of the year caliber regular season defender who can hold his own at minimum in any playoff series and who can be the third, maybe second best offensive player on a championship winning team.